Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Locker Room, our weekly podcast where we shine a light on all of the student athletes here in our Bayou region. I'm Stan Gravois. He is Dustin Robichaud, who is the head graphic designer here at Terrebonne General. Also is very, very efficient, proficient, an expert at putting together video and audio to make us look good. So thank you very much for all you do. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Speaking of audio, Stan, today is actually 8-track tape day. On this day, in 1965, the Ford Motor Company first offered vehicles with an 8-track tape player.
Is that right?
That is correct.
I'm not embarrassed to say it. I guess I'm a little bit, it ages me a little bit. I had an 8-track at one time.
I did as well.
Oh, did you really?
I bought a used one when I was in my 20s. I had an 8-track just so I could try it out. I'm like, well, this exists, right?
No, I had one in my vehicle, first vehicle I ever
Oh, wow. Okay.
To the point of which some of my favorite albums, I still, because on 8-tracks, when it goes to the next track, you could be right in the middle of a song and it'll just go down on that song. And then you hear the click go on to the next track.
All right.
And there are some songs when I hear them today, I'm wondering why they don't have the little pause in it, like from my old.
Right. You just remember it. Right.
I don't know where you find in these Mondays at, but that's pretty good stuff.
Yep.
I don't have any more 8-tracks though, I will say that.
I don't either. I got rid of all my stuff.
I will say, as comparative to days in the past of the way high school sports was run, I kind of miss those days a little bit too. It's a different day and age for sure, but obviously, as I've mentioned, as we opened up the podcast tonight, we're here to shine a light on all of the student athletes in the area. The two biggest sports that are underway are volleyball and football. Obviously, we're going to get you caught up with football as week 2 just ended. But I do want to pass on the records to this point in volleyball. Nobody has started district play in volleyball in the Bayou region, but we got some teams that are getting out to pretty good starts on the year, and we want to make sure that we shine a little light on them. In Division 1, we have 4 teams from the Bayou region that compete. The teams probably that are in the hardest division, I hate to sort of throw a wet blanket over it and say that it's everybody in this division is super good. But nonetheless, I think when you get to the top of it, when you get to the Dominicans and you get to the Mount Carmels, they're all very good in Division 1 in our local area. Central Lafourche is 4-3 to this point, so they have a winning record. Terrebonne is at 500. They're 4-4 in volleyball. H.L. Bourgeois and Thibodaux, a little bit of a struggle. Thibodaux is 1-12. Now, they played a lot of matches against a lot of good competition, but they're just not seeing the wins come in, and H.L. Bourgeois to this point is winless. They are 0-8 in volleyball, trying to get something together. In Division 2, a little bit of an interesting scenario, Ellender, who traditionally finishes in the playoffs, but usually at the lower end of the bracket. Well, they're starting off at 7-1 right now, so That's good for the Lady Patriots for sure. The competition has not been real stiff, but still good. South Terrebonne is at 5-5, so they're right at 500, along with South Lafourche at 4-4. I will say this about South Lafourche. They're playing some heavy hitters. They're playing some teams that are really good. South Lafourche is going to be ready when it comes playoff time. And Assumption, who is traditionally probably our best Division II high school in the area, they're at 2-6. Again, they play a pretty big schedule, though. Please, as you watch this, don't freak out and say, oh, my favorite high school is not going to make the volleyball playoffs, or my favorite high school is going to be the #1 seed. There's so much more to go. We're going to get into power rankings later on in our podcast, but not now. It's too early to start talking about where you sit with power rankings. I just wanted to tell you what your school's schedule is right now and how they're doing. I say overall schedule at this point. In Division 3, we have 2 of the better teams in the state of Louisiana, and E.D. White and Vanderbilt Catholic. E.D. White is 8-0. This might be the year for E.D. White. They're playing a very good schedule and they're undefeated. So watch out for E.D. White in Division 3. Vanderbilt Catholic is 2-5, but again, they play a terrific schedule. I mean, a really tough schedule. So they'll be ready when it is playoff time. Then you go to Division 4. In Division 4, our only local school is Houma Christian. Houma Christian is 4-1 right now. Not a lot of matches under their belt. I'm not sure if they're going to be in a lot of tournaments coming up, but 4-1 is still 4-1, and that's pretty good. And finally, in Division 5, CCA is 2-3. They've sort of stepped up in their competition because I think Coach Craig Hamlin knows that they can be competitive. So he's trying to play some very good teams at the beginning of the year. They're one game under 500. And again, as I mentioned about all of this, please realize there is so much more volleyball to play. Power rankings are out now if you want to go see them. I'm not going to tell you where. I have my little secret stash of where I go to. But we're going to get into power rankings later in the volleyball season when they get into district play. It's just unfair to talk about that at this time because I think we would sort of be misled as to who's going to be in the playoffs and who's not at this early juncture. But it's always good to walk around campus at your school with a 7-1 record instead of a 1-7 record, no matter who you're paying. So again, we wanted to shine some light on volleyball with all of those particular standings or overall records at this point in the year. And now we turn our attention to high school football. We just completed week 2 of the high school football season. Not a lot of big super surprises out there, but there are a few things that make you go, I know you saw all of the scores. You kind of ran down all of the scores.
I did.
Anything like made you go,
Oh, well, I saw the South Terrebonne sort of eked one out there against CCA, who had a big win over them last year.
That was big. That was big for that school. One that kind of surprised me, I thought Morgan City, after building on a win in the first week, would take on a Slaughter team. And when I say Slaughter is a school. It's not me making up the name, you know. I wonder what their mascot is. We could come up with some good mascots for Slaughter.
Especially in October. Halloween's on the way there.
No joke. Well, Slaughter did a number on Morgan City, and that surprised me. Not necessarily that they won, but the score of that surprised me. As a matter of fact, talking about scores, let's get them all out of the way now so that you get caught up. On Thursday night, there were 3 games. Assumption went down to HL Bourgeois. Last play of the game, Assumption had the opportunity to score and maybe win it, and they were stopped, my understanding, at the 1-inch line.
Wow.
And they lose it to HL Bourgeois. Final in that one was 29-26. Vanderbilt had no problems with John Ehret. John Ehret, once a proud program, is not quite what it was. Final in that one was 30-7. Here's the one that really surprised me. Slaughter defeated Morgan City 62-0.
Wow.
And the score just totally blew me away. That's not good for Morgan City as they head into a tougher part of their slate.
That headline writes itself.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to be real witty if you're a sportscaster with that one. Terrebonne High, no problems with Ellender. They won it 42-3. As a matter of fact, they were winning 42-0 in the first half, and they started a running clock. Because remember, in high school football in the state of Louisiana, once you have a 42-point lead, 41 or over, you actually start running the clock because they don't want them to get out of hand too much. South Terrebonne, you mentioned it, got a 1-point win over CCA. They redeemed a big loss last year. The other thing that's kind of interesting, just from a trivial perspective, it was 1 year ago that we had Hurricane Francine come through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because South Terrebonne and CCA had to play on a Sunday afternoon in the hot sun last year at Nichols, and this year they got it in on a Friday night. So for you folks who were wondering about Francine, that was a year ago. And no hurricanes in the tropics, unless you know something I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it.
It seems pretty quiet.
I don't even want to. It's supposed to have a wonderful week this week. A game, and maybe the game, although that 22-21 South Terrebonne CCA must have been very exciting.
Quite the nail biter.
Yeah, over at Tag Gauntlet, that was a very exciting one where Jesuit defeated E.D. White 24-21. E.D. White had the ball going in to score at the end of the game, and they ran into a situation where they got inside the 30-yard line of the Jesuit and ran out of downs. They went for it on a 4th down, incomplete pass, and they dropped that one. But again, E.D. White's going to be better for the schedule they're playing so far this year. Thibodaux, no problems with L.B. Landry. They win it 41-13. Central Lafourche, kudos to our friend Pop, Coach Vidros over there at Central Lafourche, got win number 1 over New Iberia this year, they win it 42-14. So good for Central Lafourche. South Lafourche, a big win over Pearl River. Last year, Pearl River actually defeated South Lafourche. South Lafourche returns to the favor. Houma Christian thought they were ready to go, but unfortunately they were not. Douglas put it on Houma Christian. I thought that might be another 2-0 start for the Houma Christian Warriors, but not to be. St. James, no problems with West St. John. And finally, Catholic of New Iberia defeated Catholic of Morgan City 20-13 in the Battle of the Catholics. That was actually a good score. I was very surprised at the outcome of that one, simply because Catholic of New Iberia, who was a state champion, is very good, and Catholic of Morgan City hung with them. So there's your scores from our area in week 2. We move on to week 3. Again, PowerPoint rankings are out for football, as I mentioned with volleyball. Still a little too early to tell, right? I think in football you can tell sooner because they only play 10 games and that's it. Whereas in volleyball you play upwards of 30 matches throughout the year. I think probably when we get into week 4, PowerPoints are going to be something we have to watch sort of intently to make sure that we understand who's going into the playoffs and who's not. And believe it or not, if you go check out the PowerPoint rankings now, there are some schools that are 0-2. They don't have a win. And they are ranked much higher than schools that are 2-0, because the PowerPoint rankings take into consideration the strength factor of your schedule. For example,
Based on who they play.
based on who you play. Allendale Memorial is 0-2 at this point. But you'd be surprised to see their PowerPoint rankings. They're fairly high because they lost to a good Terrebonne team, and they lost to Livingston Collegiate, who actually made the playoffs last year, and they're not bad in their classification. So you go, oh, well, that's pretty cool. And then all of a sudden you look over, and then you see a school like, say, South Terrebonne, who's 2-0, and they may not be quite as high simply because they played a single A school in there.
Right.
So you have to sort of let it play out a little bit. We do encourage you to go out and support these kids, though. I mean, obviously, with everything they could be doing in this crazy mixed up world that we live in, and everybody knows, you know, through everything that's been happening the last few weeks and few years and few decades, you know, these kids are doing something positive. They're going out and they're participating in extracurricular activities, and we certainly like that as opposed to some of the things they could be doing. Go out and support them. Go out and catch a volleyball match. Go out and catch a football game. Go out and watch a cross-country meet. Or help your child with their science fair project. Get into those things that obviously make, I think, the world a better place. So here we go. Moving on. This week, lots of games. And H.L. Bourgeois for the 3rd week in a row. This usually doesn't happen on the high school level. They'll be playing on a Thursday night again. This time they travel out to Morgan City. They'll be playing Central Catholic of Morgan City. So go out and support the Braves or support the Eagles. But again, it will be on Thursday night in Morgan City. The rest of the slate is pretty much all on Friday night. Assumption is going to be at Thibodaux. That's a battle of Highway 1, right down from each other. Allendale Memorial is going to be at Houma Christian. First time in the history of Houma Christian that they play a 4A school. This is pretty neat. That's your alma mater, Houma Christian.
It is.
Can you, when you were going to school there, envision Houma Christian playing schools like South Terre? It didn't seem like that was
Absolutely not. No.
Nope, that's where we've gotten to.
We didn't even have a flag football team when I was there. So
Well, you just dated yourself a little bit. Yeah, Houma Christian certainly has come along. I remember when they started football there. Before that, they had baseball and they played in the Christian League.
that was the only thing that we saw. We had basketball and baseball when I was there.
That's right. They were a Class B school and then moved up to playing football later. But at one time, we're in the Christian private league. Central Lafourche is going to be at South Lafourche. Obviously, nothing else needs to be said. Those two schools, although they sort of brother-sister when they're away from the high school scene, during the high school scene, they don't get along very good, right? Vanderbilt Catholic making its first away game all the way out to Sulphur. So they'll be taking the 3-hour bus ride to Sulphur. St. James at Terrebonne might be the game of the week in the state of Louisiana. And I'm very fortunate, going to be there on the Terrebonne General call. So Terrebonne General actually sponsors a game of the week through Rock 97.7, And I was asked earlier if I would go call that game, so that's where I'll be. That'll be a lot of fun. Again, St. James at Terrebonne, two powerhouses. E.D. White, boy, they're going to play Hornville this week. So they played Holy Cross, they played Jesuit, now they're going to play Hornville. Wow. Again, I mentioned this, they may go 1-2, they may go 0-3, but they're going to be better for it because they're going to be ready for that district. Hanson Memorial at South Terrebonne. South Terrebonne has an excellent opportunity to get off to a 3-0 start. I mentioned the Thibodeau Assumption. Yes, we talked about that one a little bit. Morgan City is going to be at St. Edmunds. That's not going to be easy for Morgan City. St. Ed's is always good. The Blue Jays of St. Ed's. Franklin going to be at Berwick, so those two schools both in St. Mary Parish. And finally, Patterson is going to be at Catholic of New Iberia. Patterson, interestingly enough, went to 0-2 this week, and they lost to Como. The interesting thing about that is Como won its first game in 6 years. So congratulations to Como.
Congrats.
Even though it's not in our Bayou region, it certainly is an Acadiana school, but they got a big win over Patterson. Patterson once was a proud program, and not quite sure what's happening there. But again, lots of high school football in the area. Our friend Casey Gisclair has Bayou Sports on Facebook. If you forget the scheduling, go to that. Go to Casey and find out at Bayou Sports exactly who's playing, as he'll sort of have that during the week. And I'm sure they'll be covering some middle school games from the Lafourche Parish area this week also. So if you want a daily taste of what's going on with our Bayou region scene, you could go to Bayou Sports. I think that's going to be it for us, Dustin, today.
We covered a lot.
Yeah. Considering that we are in the hot and heavy part of football now and volleyball, again, we'll get you those PowerPoint rankings as time moves on a little bit. Just a little bit too early to do that now. And remember, swimming is just around the corner where you'll start hearing about swim meets. Actually, cross country has started running some preliminary meets, but they're going to get into the meat of their schedule pretty soon too. So again, go out and support those high schools in our area. They certainly deserve not report. What's the right word? Your patronage?
Sure, we can go with patronage.
I guess I'd have to go look it up later and see if I use the right word. Nonetheless, be at those games as much as you possibly can. Go support those kids. Thanks for everything you do. And we are going to sign off today. We're going to be next week. May have Casey in. I think that he has pretty much said that he would love to come on every Monday that he is available. So we'll have him on. We'll talk more football, more volleyball, and more about the Bayou region. Take care, everybody. See you next week.